Well, it's day 31, final day in Budapest today. Hero Square in the distance. Time to collect some thoughts about the past month. So, thoughts on the first week. The ferry trip over from Hull to Rotterdam was pretty easy, and the first day cycling was pretty good. Certainly the signage in Holland is the best we've seen, following the little numbers, and lots of decent sort of signs with distances and everything. The ferries were cool, and seeing the windmills and Dordrecht was absolutely awesome. Fantastic place, and one of those places that you only ever really see on a trip like this, really. Next day to Arnhem was pretty decent. The train bit at the end was a bit of a faff, and would think again about using trains for part of a journey. And Arnhem was decent, but it rained a lot. And then on from there, the day on the trains, we're pretty disappointed and unimpressed with German trains. You know, 2 trains, both of them late, just a pain. So trains as part of the trip, definitely one we'd reconsider. And then down into the Rhine Valley, the Koblenz leg down to Rudolph was beautiful, and Rudolph, fantastic place. The next day down to Nierstein again, really good. But Nierstein again was our first time where we'd realised that potentially big chunks of Germany are shut, and shut because the Germans have gone on their holidays. Sundays and Mondays a bit of a faff at times. Beyond that, went down to Worms. Nice to stay in a flat, and then the final leg down to Mannheim to catch the train again. I think we'd probably opt for going a bit longer, rather than doing a day of 20 miles, probably sort of up above 30 most days. But the average of 40, 45 worked really well. So really decent first week. Right, still in City Park in Budapest, having a think about second week, and onto the Danube and the way from Ulm to Passau. So it was hot. The weather became hot. And after the first week, when it had been generally okay, but you know, a couple of days of rain and some drizzle, it was forecast and was 32, 34, 35 degrees. So we generally were on the road relatively early, getting on with it before it got too hot. First few days, pretty long, but really pretty. We were sort of far more in the countryside, quieter, not as many cyclists as we would see in the later weeks, and we did quite a lot of gravel as well, which was a bit unexpected and made it a bit tougher. But we saw some beautiful places in the area around sort of Weltenberg and Monastery, and the gorge bit between there and Kelheim was really pretty, and some of the towns as well. You know, Regensburg was absolutely brilliant, and found some really decent beer gardens there. The cycling was possibly the trickiest navigation-wise. There seemed to be, you know, multiple ways in which you could go down the river. You could go either side. There were multiple routes either side. But generally, there were often some signs to be found with a destination and some distance. So not too bad at all. Yeah, setting us up for the final 2 weeks. We got some good cycling in our legs. Cycled every day, no train nonsense. And yeah, really getting into it. Everyone's sort of legs settling down, bums settling down. So great stuff, brilliant week. Hero Square in Budapest. So week 3, or third chunk, Passau. We had a couple of nights in Passau, and that's a fantastic place. Really nice and easy to explore, not too big, really pretty. So definitely really great place, Passau. And that marked the start of probably the more, seeing more people on the road, a more well-marked route, lots of tarmac and well-made paths, often on these sort of raised flood defences by the side of the Danube. The first sort of section down to Inzel, absolutely gorgeous. Again, sort of meandering river through sort of gorge, so beautiful countryside. And then onwards, we swam for the first time in the Danube again. It was absolutely roasting, and we'd get in the Danube a few times after that just to cool off, and that was a big feature. It was just absolutely roasting. 35, 36, up early, getting the miles done, but really enjoying it, and making our way down to Vienna, where we were going to have 3 nights, and again really hot, possibly a little bit of a bigger city. Some of us are happier with bigger cities than others. Much harder to manage, loads and loads of tourists, loads of people, and loads of buildings with loads of statues on. But we really enjoyed the flat we stayed at, and loved the rooftop pool and enjoying the sunshine. The city park. So the final leg, Vienna to Bratislava, is pretty straightforward. Bratislava, I stayed there a couple of nights and really loved Bratislava. Again, smaller, far more manageable, decent bars, and easy to sort of have a really good go at exploring in a day. And Slovakia was a new country for us as well, which was lovely. And then onwards, we had a little bit of a struggle with finding accommodation for the next couple of nights, and we had to be careful because it's the Slovakian national holiday, so we had a bit of a need to stock up on food, but it was all good. We stayed in a nice little 5 bungalows in the middle of nowhere, and it was nice for a change, not to have any sort of sightseeing or things to have to go and sort of explore. And then onwards, the route finding got a little bit trickier and a bit random, so we'd have some really nice sections of tarmac and then it would go into gravel, but we successfully made our way from Slovakia across to Hungary, back to Slovakia, back to Esztergom, Hungary, and then down to Budapest. Some of that on the road was a bit odd, and then some nice cycle paths, and then familiar challenge of getting into a big city, but all good. Budapest itself, just another big city, loads and loads of tourists, loads of pretty sights to see, but we'd made it, 860 miles, and awesome, really proud of everyone. The bikes have been packaged up, quite a lot of parcel tape, some gaffer tape, some scavenged cardboard, some more suitable than others, but they should be good for the plane tomorrow. The bikes are all boxed up, just time for some final thoughts, final food tonight. So I suppose on the route was definitely about as flat as you can get, so pretty easy going as a first ride, so I thoroughly recommend it. The easiest bit is probably the classic Passau to Vienna or Bratislava, in terms of being signposted and the flattest and most tarmacy, but all the other bits have their pluses and minuses, and made for a good adventure to have different elements, different countries, some easier, some harder bits. So yeah, fantastic, and the route will be in the description thing if you really want to follow this and you've just stumbled across this video for no good reason. In terms of the way we did it, all the accommodation was booked up in advance, so we plotted on about 40 miles a day approximately, and where we struggled sometimes to find accommodation, we went a bit further or a bit shorter. I think 40 miles for us was great, especially given the heat. In terms of when to do it, I'd probably avoid August if you've got a choice, but if you're doing it in school holidays with kids, you've probably not got the choice. Obviously August has the danger of being pretty hot, and it did seem, especially in Germany and parts of Austria, that people were away, so you know, less shops open, less restaurants and stuff like that. In terms of the food, we had sort of apartments quite often and enjoyed the ability to cook our own food. German and Austrian food and Slovakian and Hungarian food is probably what you'd expect it to be. It's not sort of haute cuisine or fine dining. You know, there's quite a lot of schnitzel and dumplings, which are to be enjoyed every now and again, but we had the opportunity to cook some stuff that we fancied ourselves as well. The beer's been pretty decent all the way along, although I was hoping for some more beer gardens to drink it in, but there's been plenty of choices. So I've got some Dreher IPA this evening, which is good. Yeah, all in all, absolutely fantastic first effort, and I think we'll be planning and think of what we do next. That's it.